task number 18, bacterial culture and sensitivity. I'm going to be performing this on Byron, a 10-year-old male neutered basset hound. We're going to be doing it on his right ear. So I've got my sterile swab here. Go ahead and remove it from its packaging. Collect my sample.
I put the clamps in the back in the pouch. Do something.
We don't have any more plants.
Okay.
Did we just find them in the...
You're gonna cut. All right. So now that I've gathered my sample, I'm gonna go and place it in my TSA auger plate. So I'm gonna crack my lid and place it in the first quadrant. I'm gonna stroke back and forth. Twist it and go to my second quadrant. Once again, strike back and forth. I'm going to go through my first quadrant twice. Move on to my third quadrant. Same thing, go through it twice. And then on to my last one, and I'm going to go through it twice as well. Okay, and I'll go ahead and label my plate with Byron's name, the area that I collected the sample from, so his right ear, and today's date. Okay, this is A. Alright, so now that I've placed my sample within my auger disc, and I've gone ahead and labeled it with Byron's name, the location, the date, and my initials, I'm going to go ahead and place it in my incubator. Okay, and then we'll come back in 24 hours and place our antibiotic Sensi discs. Okay, so now that my sample has been incubated on my auger plate at 37 degrees Celsius for 24 hours, I'm going to go ahead and look at it as well as add my Sensi discs. So I've got some illustrations here from my book. I'm going to go ahead and describe the characteristics of my specimen. So the size, I would say, is probably pinpoint, and the density is very opaque. It's not transparent. The pigment I would call kind of an off-white color. The elevation, when turning it sideways and looking at it, looks like it could be possibly the convex. And then here in the book we've got illustrations of the different elevations. So you've got flat, raised, convex, pulvinate, and umbonate. And then for our form, it's kind of hard to visualize the form as the colonies are so populated. I would say that it would either be circular or possibly the filamentous. When you look very closely at, like here is a singular, it looks like it could possibly be filamentous. And then my texture I would call kind of a glassy or sticky look. I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, but it's very kind of glossy and glazed over. The odor, it is very pungent. You can smell it without removing the lid whatsoever. And there doesn't appear to be any hemolysis. So for forms, we've got a couple different options here. Here are the different forms that you could see. And then I've also got my 3 different types of Sensi discs. They were kept refrigerated until the time of use. So I've got ampicillin, clindamycin, and tetracycline. I've got a pair of sterile hemostats, as well as some sterile cotton tip applicators. Going to go ahead and start with my tetracycline. So I'm going to use my hemostats to push it to the side. I'll remove the disc from the dispenser. And then I'm just going to place that 15 to 20 millimeters from the edge of the plate or of the container. I'll place it in there, and then I'll use one of my sterile cotton tip applicators to just press it into the auger. Okay. Next, I'll go ahead and do my ampicillin. So same thing, I'm just going to press it to the edge using my hemostats. Remove my disc. And I want to make sure to place it far enough away from my other disc that it can show the sensitivity without conflict in each other. And then I'll get a new sterile cotton tip applicator and depress it into the auger. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and do my clindamycin. So same concept, press it to the edge, remove it using my hemostats, and then once again, place it far enough away from the other two discs. And then I'll get another new sterile cotton tip applicator press that into the auger. Gonna go ahead and place my specimen back into the incubator. I'm gonna let it incubate overnight for 18 to 24 hours at 37 degrees Celsius, and then I'll reevaluate tomorrow to see if the specimen has any sensitivities to any of the 3 antibiotic sensi discs. All right, so I've got my sample here. As you can see, we did not have, or our bacteria or our growth did not have any sensitivity to any of the 3 antibiotics that we placed within it. So we did the clindamycin, the tetramycin, and the ampicillin. There is no clearance, and the bacteria is still directly up touching the discs. So I've got a picture here of what it would look like if our sample was to be sensitive. So as you can see here, the little white circles in the middle are sensi discs, and then there's some clearance where there is no growth around the outer edge of the disc. That is showing that it was sensitive to whichever antibiotic is within that sensi disc, as the antibiotic has basically killed the bacteria off of that area. If you were to have numerous sensitivities, as this sample does, you would simply use visualization to determine which antibiotic the bacteria or the growth is most sensitive to by the size and diameter of the circle around it. Here's another picture. I'm assuming this is of the same sample, and then as you can see, there are numerous ones in this petri dish that it was resistant to, as well as some that it was minorly sensitive to. I would say that your answer as far as which antibiotic to be placed on would be within these 6 samples here. With our sample, we did not show sensitivity to any of the 3, so we would need to reevaluate and then see if we could find a antibiotic that Byron's bacterial infection or infection in general would be sensitive to, and place him on that antibiotic. I'm going to go ahead and document our results into his record. I'm going to let my doctor know that his infection was resistant to all 3 of our antibiotics, and we will discuss what the next option is. Okay, and it is all logged in Byron's record.